Good evening, and welcome to you all. My name is Fran Snedeker, and it is my pleasure to serve as moderator to this screening of tonight of A Walk to Beautiful. Thank you from all the millions of women worldwide who are afflicted by obstetric fistula. I feel certain that they can feel the warmth of the love you have shown to them by joining us tonight. I would like to extend my special thanks to LMC, who has hosted and nurtured my program, Future Choices, for the last 6 years. By hosting tonight's screening of A Walk to Beautiful, LMC is extending the outreach of Future Choices, which, as most of you know, is an educational series focusing on women's reproductive rights worldwide and is shown in Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and 8 other public access stations in Westchester County. A Walk to Beautiful has earned many accolades, including an Emmy and a special award from the Global Health Council, where I first learned about it. In my current condition, A Walk to Beautiful is all the more poignant. My Walk to Beautiful 6 days ago lasted less than an hour. My husband and friends soothed and encouraged me all the way to the hospital, and once I made it down the mountain, I knew I was going to receive, and did receive, superb health care at the Vail Medical Center. By contrast, the women that you are about to meet suffered for years before they got help. They were abandoned by their husband, shunned by their family, forced to deal with their humiliating condition alone. I first heard about obstetric fistula nearly 20 years ago, coincidentally from a Larchmont native, Maggie Bankser, whose parents were living at that time in the manor. I was fortunate enough to be serving on the EngenderHealth Board of Directors when Maggie, who was already the head of a renowned nonprofit organization, Women's Dignity Project in Tanzania, came to us during a brief trip to New York to convince us, EngenderHealth, to establish fistula on EngenderHealth's program agenda. Not surprisingly, except for the doctors on the board, few of us had ever heard of obstetric fistula before Maggie undertook to educate us. Since then, EngenderHealth has been a pioneer in addressing obstetric fistula, leading efforts to prevent and treat fistula across Africa and in Bangladesh. The EngenderHealth-led Fistula Care Project addresses the enormous backlog of women awaiting surgical repair for fistula, ensuring that they receive quality care from trained doctors. At the same time, EngenderHealth works to remove barriers to emergency obstetric care that lead to fistula in the first place. You'll see a lot of details about those barriers in the film. Obstetric fistula has become an integral part of my agenda, too. As producer of Future Choices, I have included obstetric fistula in 4 different shows. I am very pleased that Carrie Ngongo, EngenderHealth's Senior Program Associate on the Fistula Care Project, has joined us tonight to introduce the film to us and to moderate the post-film discussion. Prior to joining EngenderHealth 2 years ago, Carrie coordinated an infection prevention program in Kenya's provincial hospitals and also served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Guinea. Please join me in welcoming Carrie Ngongo.
Thanks very much, Fran, and thank you very much to all of you for being here. It's really wonderful to see such a great turnout, and I look forward to our conversation after the film. This is a great film, and I'm really pleased that you have the opportunity to see it. It really has done a great job of raising awareness about fistula and showing the struggles of women with fistula, but also the transformation that surgical repair can bring. I am blessed to get to be a mother. I have a wonderful 18-month-old daughter who is growing and thriving. And I imagine what it must have been like for the women in this film and millions of others around the world who were pregnant and they felt, the baby's kicking and they were anticipating motherhood and the excitement there. But when their time came to deliver, when my time came to deliver, I got to deliver in a hospital here with skilled care, whereas in their hour of need, they failed to deliver. They pushed and something wasn't right and the baby didn't come. And this should have been loss enough. I mean, can you imagine having a stillborn baby? But beyond that grief and loss, the women profiled here and others with obstetric fistula found that not only had they lost their baby, but they also had lost the ability to control urine, and in some cases, feces. And so they smelled and they were shunned and they couldn't control this problem. And so I would just encourage you to take this opportunity to imagine what that must be like, but don't dwell just on the problem of fistula, horrible as it is, but see it as an opportunity to understand how life can be transformed by surgical repair. And also I'd like you to think about ways that fistula can be prevented. There are lots and lots of messages in the film that talk about prevention of fistula. And the way we see it is that fistula, obstetric fistula, is what happens to the women who don't die. You all know that maternal mortality around the world is appallingly high, and lots of women die in childbirth, 1 every 5 minutes somewhere in the world. But for those women who don't die, for those who would die except for they narrowly make it, they survive, they're left with obstetric fistula. But whereas victims of car crashes, if someone is in a car accident and barely makes it, we congratulate them and are so pleased that they made it. But women with fistula face a great deal of stigma, and instead of being seen as survivors of motherhood or childbirth injury, they are shunned. And so I would just encourage you to watch this film with an open mind and an open heart, and I will look forward to all of your questions afterwards. So I don't know about you, but I find this to be a very compelling film, and I'm really glad that you all have just gotten to watch it with me, and I look forward to your questions. Before we get to that, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about the Fistula Care Project. Fran mentioned that I work on the Fistula Care Project, and it's true. And the Fistula Care Project actually got started when Catherine Hamlin, one of the co-founder of the Addis Ababa Fistula Hospital, went and testified before Congress about the problem of fistula and what was being done at that point. And our members of Congress were so moved that they wanted to set aside funds to address fistula around the world. And so USAID has given EngenderHealth money to manage a 5-year-long fistula care project. So we are in a debt of gratitude to Catherine Hamlin for raising awareness about the issue. And the vision was to expand access to fistula treatment around the world and also to prevent new cases of fistula from occurring. So EngenderHealth had been working a little bit on fistula prior to getting the Fistula Care Project. We were part of a 9-country assessment that was done jointly with UNFPA, and we'd also collaborated with the Women's Dignity Project on various work in East Africa. But the Fistula Care Project expanded the scope of work, and we now work with 27 different hospitals providing fistula repair across Africa and Asia, and in 11 countries. So the facilities we partner with range quite a bit. There are public hospitals and there are private hospitals. There are those that are standalone centers that are